everyone, it's Cathy Zielske. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I have another pixel to page scrapbook page project. And this video is going to be a little more extended because I am going to share the pixel process, which is really just me using my layered templates as the base for my traditional finished scrapbook page. If you are not interested in the digital process, and I will be using Photoshop today, then go ahead and just jump ahead to the time that you see on the screen right now, and you can go right to the actual physical page build. But for now, let's jump in to the digital side, the pixel side, if you will. Now today I'm working in Photoshop Creative Cloud. A lot of times I teach using Photoshop Elements, but the processes that I'm going to be using are so basic that it doesn't really matter what version of Photoshop you have. And if you ever had a question about working with a template, I am always just an email away. So this particular template is number 180. And the idea behind this was completely inspired by the recent cleaning I have been doing. I've been jumping on the Marie Kondo bandwagon, and I found this. This is a photo of yours truly, 1995. My first, well actually I guess this would be my second home office. And this is in my daughter, what is now my daughter's bedroom. Used to be our fourth bedroom, and my husband and I each had an office, and we just thought, we're never gonna fill up this house. Yeah, famous last words. But there I am in 1995, working on probably some weird freelance project, and I had a dog. I loved that dog. Her name was Dylan. Also, I had long hair. That's hilarious. And some high-waisted mom jeans. Thank you. But when I saw this photo, I thought to myself, this is a timestamp. If you look in the lower left, that is a tray of floppy disks. Okay, anyone? Some of you might be too young to remember floppy disks. I am not. Also, technology and how it changes really does mark the time. I am working on a Mac 2CI. That was actually my second Mac that I had purchased. And so there I am with what I considered at the time to be super state-of-the-art. This is not a picture that I want to fall into the annals of stories forgotten. And because I am taking a new interest in telling some of my own stories right now, this one had to be told. So for fun, I decided to do this. I recreated as best I could the same angle of where I'm at today, right? There I am. My office is a new location. My computer technology is slightly upgraded. My chin looks about the same, which is pretty good. My chair is a major upgrade. That chair is, yeah, okay. Anyway, I decided this would be fun to use on the template as well. And so let's get started. All I'm going to do here is I'm going to come back to my template. I'm going to click here on photo here. I like to pre-select my layers before I bring things in. I'm going to come back to 1995, and if you just right click on your layer of your photo and go to duplicate, I'm going to choose my template, click OK, and when I come in here, you will see that that photo, well, it's actually called background, which it's not, but bear with me here, is directly over the actual space. So all I'm going to do here is I'm going to come over and hold my cursor between the two layers. I'm going to hold down my Option or Alt key if I'm on a PC, and then I'll get a little symbol. It's either going to look like this or it's going to be an overlapping black and white circle, and I'm going to click. And as soon as I click, we pop into place, and then I can start. Now in full Photoshop, you have to hold down your Shift key. You don't have to do that in Photoshop Elements, but I want to get it to be, I want to get as much detail in there. It's not a great photo. It was taken with the flash, but there you go. That's photo one. And this is what I'm going to use when I create what I call a printing document. So now I'll come down here, pre-select the optional photo here. You don't need to use it, but like I said, I thought it was cute that I came up with this. Again, I'll just right click, duplicate layer, go right into the template, and click back to the template. Now it's huge because I just took this photo with my iPhone. So I'm going to hold down my Shift key here and just make it smaller. Just click. Again, if you're in Photoshop Elements, you do not need to hold down your Shift key. All right, and then I'm going to come back over to these layers. I used to teach keystrokes, but honestly, they changed one of them in Photoshop Elements, so I don't even bother. But if you don't like coming over here, you can always go up to your layer menu and you can look for, where is clipping mask? Create clipping mask. That will give you the same effect. It will pop your photo right into the constraints of the layer. I'm going to zoom, oh, whoop, wrong program. Okay, we're going to come out here. I'm going to zoom in a little here, and I just want to frame this to the, as close as possible to the shot that we have above. And I think that's pretty good. All right, I'm going to click away. And now you can see two photos separated by, I cannot do that math, but that's a lot of years, and yet there I am, the fresh young designer and the seasoned designer. So that's the first step, just getting your photos into the template. The next step in the process for me would be to add my journaling. My layered templates come with placeholder journal blocks. They feature some dummy copy, as we call it in the print world, and a free font that you can type over and change, do whatever you like to it, just using your text tool, highlighting, and going for it. Now, I will be changing my font because I tend to use some of the same fonts time and again. But one thing I wanted to point out on this template, Blast from the Past is actually a graphic. Each word here, blast and past, are separate. They are elements that you can change the color if you want to use this title. For example, let's say you wanted this to be, I'm just going to pretend like this green up here is what we're going to use, which we're not, but I'm going to click on that. You can select a color either by using your little eyedropper tool or, coming into the color picker and saying, okay, you can change that color by going to Edit, Fill Layer, Foreground Color, because that's the one in front, and go like that, boom. Now I'm not going to be doing that, but these are editable for color and style. I'm going to undo that. But you can't type over them because they're graphics, because it is a paid font. So the title is really set, and that is the idea behind this template, is that you are going to tell a blast from the past story. Now keep in mind, optional subheading, that is editable. So again, that is in the free font. It's Open Sans. It's very easy to download it and install it, and there you go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add my journaling, and then when I come back, I will show you how I make a printing document. Now that I've added my journaling and my fonts, and I use the font called Gotham because that is actually what I designed this with. And I actually sell a die set that I will be using on my actual page that matches this font. So it's kind of all tied together. And I will link to all of the resources for this project below the video. But the journaling's in place, and now I have to print this photo and this photo. Now here's the thing, this is just a 6x4 photo. It looks bigger because it gets so much play on this page, but it's really not. So what I'm going to do is I am going to, let's see here. I'm going to create a new document. This is a printing doc. And I'm going to come in here and I'm just going to make it 6 by 4 inches, 300 resolution, white background, RGB color, looks good. There it is. I'm going to come into my template. I'm going to right click and I'm going to duplicate the layer. And I'm going to pick that new untitled document, which is the 6 by 4. And when I click OK, it will transfer in here. And now I'm going to just pick this guy. Let's see. Oh, he's clipped in. I'm going to unclip. All right, I want to move this around a little bit and just get it right about where I want it. And that looks pretty good. And then I'm going to send this to print with a border using my Epson PictureMate, a little home office printer that I use for everything. I absolutely love it. So that will be my 4x6. And then I will also repeat the same process to get this little guy onto its own document as well. And that will also be printed and trimmed. So that's the photo part, getting them out into their own little blank canvases. The next thing is to turn everything off that I'm not using. So we're going to start here. Background, not using it, going to turn it off. Now, I don't necessarily, let's see here, do I want to have an outline on that? Actually, I do. So I'm going to double click here really quick on the background, and I'm just going to hit stroke. This is in full Photoshop. It's a layer style. I'm going to make it 1 pixel, okay? But I am going to come to the blending and turn that off, just like that. This is just for my visuals. Really all you need to do is just trim 1/2 inch all the way around, but I tend to do this, so I'm sharing it. Come in here, I'm going to turn off that and that. You just turn things off by clicking on the eyeball. Now I'm not using this title, but if I were, and actually let's turn off these photos too, because I'm not printing these. I can actually just turn off the layer mask, just turning everything off. Now, if you were just going to print this part, you could change the colors of your title. It would work great, any colors you like. Print it out, trim it, and that is the base for your scrapbook page. For me, I'm actually going to go boop, boop, but I'm going to leave from the, and I'm going to leave office style. I am going to print this out on cardstock, and once I've done that and my photos are printed out, it's time to go down and start assembling the page. So I'll see you on my workspace. Alrighty then, I've got my photos printed out, and I printed the big photo with a bit of a border, so I don't have to mat that. And I'm going to be using these Everett solid letter dies. These are dies that I designed for Simon Says Stamp, and they match the title. Now you'll see, this is the printout from the template. All of the things that I want are there. All of the things that I don't want, those layers have been turned off. Found this striped paper from close to my heart, thought it would work. So let's get into building the page. First thing I'm going to do is trim down my background to 8.5 by 11. I am an 8.5 by 11 scrapbooker. I always have been. It just is it's a more manageable size for me. All right, now the little borders here that I left in are helping me to quickly trim. I just do this because, I mean, you can do a 1/2 inch on each side too, but sometimes, as you can see here, my laser printer prints a little kitty wampus, if you will, a little askew, and so having that line to guide me helps, and then I can know that I've trimmed it out and I've got this nice even border. But when I looked at this border, same thing with my small photo printer. I love the photo printer. That's a Epson PictureMate, but sometimes it too, depending on how the paper gets fed in, your border prints might be a little bit off. You can just trim them, you know. Just go in. That's the beauty of this paper trimmer. You can just like nudge it over a tiny bit and trim, and oh, it's beautiful. Now here's my trick for this. Take your little picture and line the photo area up with the edge of the plastic guard. When you push it down, you line that up, and that gives you, I don't know what it is, maybe 1/8 of an inch, a little more than that, but it gives you this nice even border. Now I needed to trim this down a tiny bit more because I did want them to match perfectly. Sometimes I wish that the border was a little bit bigger on the 4x6 print, but you know what? Tomato, tomato. No, that doesn't make any sense, but there you go. That looks better. Those match up. All right, now we can move on. Now, if you don't have a cardstock swatch wheel, you should make one. I just say that because I use this thing all the time. These are all of my Gina K Designs cardstocks. I stick a label on them. Every time I get a new one, I punch it and I add it to my ring, and I will link all the supplies I'm using will be below, including the tag that I used. But I wanted to go with a blue, and I felt that a contrasting blue would be better, and that is a color called Tranquil Teal, gorgeous teal color. Next, I will cut out the letters for my title, and I have a Spellbinders Platinum 6 die cut machine. This thing works great. It's compact, it's cute, it folds up when you're not using it, and more importantly, it cuts beautifully. And it's always nice to have a little pokey tool. It's not called the pokey tool, but if you're die cutting letters, you just use those little pokey holes to pop out your letters, and they look great. So I'm going to make sure to cut everything out. And now it's time to start assembling. Now, I've been using the Gina K Designs and Thermoweb Sticky Dot Runner. This is a great adhesive. I love dot adhesives, and I'm just putting down enough. You know, you don't need to overdo it. I have been guilty of being an over-adheser in my life, but really, it's going into a page protector. I don't think it's going anywhere. But I like to stand up. I'm standing looking straight down and make sure that all 4 margins look even. That's important to me. Provides a nice bit of framing space. And now I'm going to get this photo in here. I just want to make sure there's enough clearance for the first letter in my title. I just want to place that down, and again, I'm just eyeballing it. And before I get too crazy with the eyeballing, I always forget, oh yeah, bring in your ruler, because I have this clear T-square, and I use it a lot for card making, and then I just discovered how amazing it is for scrapbooking. Don't need to do this at the bottom. I'm pretty sure I can figure this one out, but I wanted to make sure the P for my title was there. I'm just going to pop that down. Simple, simple. And I know I could have matted them on a different color, the photos, but you know what? I like white. White is kind of my jam. So now I'm just going to use the dot runner to put my title on, because for paper to paper, it's great. Bring that T-square in, and the T-square, which you can see is taped down. I cannot recommend doing this enough. If you tape it into place and then you just put a little of that low-tack tape onto the corner of your paper's not going to move, and you can quickly line up your stickers or your die cuts. I love die cut titles because of the flexibility, the infinite possibilities, if you will. Any color cardstock, any pattern paper, any type of material you want to die cut for a title, you can do it again and again. So I tend to reach for die cut alphabets more than I do letter stickers. I've never been, oh my, look at that gray hair. Whoa, Kath. Yeah, I'm going all natural. Blast from the past. Now, if you have any little extra schmutzy things from the adhesive hanging over the letters, just get an adhesive eraser. They're fantastic, and you can run that over your whatever you've glued down, takes it right off. Now I decided to add a tabbed sentiment. The template has a tab, and I have a tab set, and I love Where Did the Time Go? Seems appropriate. Tabs are awesome for scrapbooking, and I designed this set because I knew I was going to use them a bunch. So I'm going to do a little stamping here, but if you are doing any stamping with embossing and powder, get a magic powder bag, the embossing magic, because when you stamp with sticky ink and then you put your powder, if your powder goes all over the place, it's because your paper either has too much static or there's oil. I used to hate stamping because of this very thing, and embossing. I never wanted to do it because I knew it was always going to look like a hot mess until I discovered embossing magic. Thank you. Also, I have a little stamp chamois here, and I keep it in this little holder that I got on Amazon. It's great because it keeps it damp, but it doesn't get super smelly. And again, I'll link that below in the list. I think it's called the Salt and Cellar. Yeah, something like that. So my powder is this beautiful white powder from Brutus Monroe. The color is Alabaster. And because I put my powder on, I'm going to tap. Oh, the whole paper is going to fall off. But you can see the powder only sticks to where the ink is. And that's the purpose. That's the goal. Yay me. All right. Get the tool nice and hot and then bring it to your paper, just like that. And Where Did the Time Go has been melted into shiny whiteness. And then I'll just use the coordinating tab die to cut it out. There are two different sizes of tabs in the set. Some sentiments fit into the big one, like this, and some fit into the small one. I just love it. I love the tabs. All right, just going to use my sticky dot runner, all purpose here, and then just place that right flush with the left edge of the photo, and just like that, it's down. I still felt though, you know what, it could be, but we need to keep going. I felt it was a little too floaty. Now I brought in some enamel dots and I was going to work them in, but I didn't have the right size, so instead I brought in some cardstock because I felt like this needed a bit more grounding. Wasn't sure if I wanted to use the same orange, and that is the Sweet Mango cardstock from Gina K, or did I want to just go with Gina's Kraft? And I wavered, and I thought, I know when people are watching this, they're going to be like, you made the wrong choice, Catherine. But no, I think I made the right choice. First, I needed to just eyeball and trim off a little bit more from the striped background. And I just kind of eyeballed it. But I wanted to make sure I had a little bit of room for the Kraft, so that would be framed. And it just made it more substantial. You don't always know. This is why scrapbooking videos for me are interesting, because I don't make pages before I film them. I do with cards. I always make my card first, and then I realize, oh, you know what? It needs more. So I decided to pull out my Hero Arts nested heart dies and just punch out, cut out, if you will, 2 more little hearts, and that gives me a beautiful visual triangle on my page. I grabbed some thin foam adhesive and just popped both of the hearts up, just for a little extra. But what this does, it creates this visual link. Can you see that? It's literally creating an implied triangle. And what it does is it leads your eye across the page. It adds a little visual interest. That was the piece that was missing. And that's it, the finished page project. The thing that's most important to me, though, about this is the story. Finding this old photo was a gift. It was tucked into a drawer as I was doing my Marie Kondo cleaning of one particular area in my office, and I'm so happy that I was able to save it and tell the story. Thanks so much for watching. I would love to have you become a subscriber, and I will see you back here again with another scrapbooking page project soon.